stuff come back to bite you in the behind. It will. So we pray for our white brothers. We hope that they turn around, but long as greed is around, long as all this stuff is around, it's going to be a hard thing to do. We just got to continue to pray. All right. Let's go down. We talked about separate but equal. We know that that's not true. All right. The new Jim Crow modern day lynching of blacks by uniformed police. We already talked about that as well. And we know how they're using brutality in the streets to kill unarmed black people. And like I said before, I'm not condemning those that need to be shot if they got a gun, things of that nature. Yes, you got to protect yourself. But I mean, you got no gun. There's more than one way of apprehending a person if he did something wrong. Call for backup and do it the right way. All right, all lives matter, but don't perpetrate the fraud in the black community and kill all of them because you are fearful and you don't understand what the black struggle is all about. Because you don't want to know, because you want to keep your position and you want to keep what you have, and you don't want nobody else to rise up against you to take what you got. So that's just fear. That's paranoia. All right, the Jim Crow law is back. It's back. We talked about capitalism. We talked about how on the backs of blacks this country was built. Wherever, I'm going to read this because I think this is very, 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 very powerful. Capitalism and white supremacy were born together. They cannot exist without each other. The United States was built on the backs of slaves and Native Americans. Eventually, capitalism dominated the world through colonization. That means, basically what they're saying is that capitalism is big industry, big business, all right? Making things happen, and you see how your cities come up since the 1800s. How that's capitalism, and put things in place so they can be profitable, all right, and have control, all right. But they use the backs of the blacks and the Native Americans to help build that, but also the blacks and the Native Americans and those that were enslaved, they did not profit from it at all. They still don't profit from it. All right. Both colonialism and slavery were defeated through the heroic struggles of people of color around the world. Everything which has a beginning must have an end. Then after that, you got the Jim Crow laws, as we just talked about, and the lynching. Remember, we just talked about that they used violence to suppress the black man. When they did certain things, they wanted to keep him in check. They did it by violence. And 9 times out of 10, they did it by lynching. All right. And now today, the new Jim Crow law is by police brutality, killing unarmed black people for no reason. Like I said before, I ain't saying all of them are not guilty, but if they ain't got no gun, then you shouldn't be shooting that person down like a dog. All right? All right, let's go on. White privilege, white supremacy, and capitalism. We just talked about that a minute ago. We're going to talk about that, and then we're going to get ready to close this out. All right? White privilege, what do we mean by white privilege? White privilege refers to any advantage, opportunity, benefit, head start, or general protection from negative societal mistreatment. I will repeat that again. What does white privilege mean? We don't have this in the black community. We don't have no privilege. But in the white community, this is what they have. White privilege refers to any advantage, schools, the best of everything they can get. Doors open because their father knows somebody, their mother knows this, or whatever. Other doors are open. Opportunity, that's it. Benefit, a head start in life, a general protection from negative societal mistreatment, which persons deem white people will typically enjoy, but which others will generally not enjoy, because we don't have that opportunity. We don't have it. So we have to struggle. That's why I said we have to be better. 10 times better. We got to get out there and struggle harder and study harder to achieve the head start and all the things they got that's already been handed to them. We got to work towards that and surpass that. All right? These benefits can be material, such as greater opportunity in the labor market or greater net worth due to a history in which whites had the ability to accumulate wealth to a greater extent than persons of color. Social, such as presumptions of competence and credit worthiness, law abidingness, saying that they're saying that all black people ain't law abiders. We got some black people that are law abiders. I ain't gonna say that all of them are bad. We got there's bad and good in in every race, all right? Law-abiding, intelligent, or psychological, such as not having to worry about triggering negative stereotypes, really having to feel out of place, not having to worry about racial profiling. Whites, you don't have that problem. You don't have the problem. We the one that got to deal with it every day of our lives. Operationally, white privilege is simply the flip side of discrimination against people of color. The concept is rooted in the common sense observation that can be no down without an up, and that if people of color are the targets of discrimination in housing, employment, the justice system, or elsewhere, then whites by definition are being elevated above those persons of color, which is true, still going on to this day. Whites are receiving a benefit, a visa vine, those persons of color, more opportunity because those persons of color are receiving less, and that is so very true. All right. What is the connection between racism and the class system of capitalism? The connections are substantial. To begin with, the development of modern white supremacy was very much connected in the way which the class system developed, especially in the West, in the United States. For instance, planter elites during the colonial period used the motion of whiteness as a way to split class-based coalitions that often developed between enslaved Africans and indentured Europeans who are only slightly above slaves themselves. Afraid of rebellions, here's the fear again, that dates all the way back to the 1800s and even further back. Afraid of rebellion, they would threaten their power and their material domination of the poor. Elites carved out special legal protections for all Europeans, which placed them above persons of color, gave them a stake in the system. See what happens? Opportunity. All right, there it is. The landowner and political elites also utilized poor whites on slave patrols to give them a sense that they were a vital bulwark against black uprising, and regularly stressed the superiority of Europeans by convincing white working people that their interests were rooted in skin color. See, there it is right there. They were taught that their superiority is rooted in their skin color, not by the content of their character, like Dr. King stated, and how God created us. Rather than economic need, wealthy Europeans helped lead the development of the class system to the development of white supremacy. As capitalism developed nationally, internationally, and then globally, elites often use racism and notion of white supremacy to maintain and extend their power. It's still continuing to this day. In rallying the masses to support militarism and imperialism for the benefit of wealthy, as with the war with Mexico, the conquest of Hawaii, the invasion of the Philippines, and several military events throughout the 20th century, notions of racial superiority were regularly deployed to justify those actions undertaken for the benefit of international investment in the growth of capital. There it is right there. Building big businesses so they can have control, they can dominate the workplace, and they can do certain things, they can maneuver because they have that control and that power. All right? All right, we're coming down to the end here. I hope that you've getting something out of this today, because I really have learned a lot today. All right. Well, if racism and capitalism are linked in this way, isn't the real issue economics? Doesn't this mean that racism is just an extension of class oppression, and that only by ending class oppression or capitalism can really hope to address the racism? The issue is real and class, race and class. It is. It's class and it's race. It's all about that. We just talked about that. It was all they were taught that the superiority comes in your skin color, not in the content of your character. All right, it was taught, and it's still taught to this day. All right. Even people of color who are not poor or working class face racism in housing, school, the justice system, and labor market. That is so true. More importantly, although modern racist roots may be located largely in the development of the class structure, this doesn't mean that capitalism is the only source of racism, nor that ending class inequality is the only way to effectively conquer white supremacy. To begin, the class system is not the only source of white supremacy. All right, such notions have been inculcated by the Christian tradition in the West in a radicalization way in which Christianity developed as a force in Europe, for instance, and today, with hundreds of years of racist conditioning behind us, notice that white supremacy superiority have become ingrained in millions of people. It sure has, and it still continues, with or without active manipulation of elites. And even when those whites are not in direct competition with people of color for stuff, they are not as they are often not within a radical bifurcated class system. Now, very close in. Give you a statement here by W.E. Du Bois, and we're going to close this out. W.E. Du Bois noted over time, said white supremacy invested white folks with a psychological wage, which allows them to feel superior to people of color, even if they ultimately pay a price for their indulgence of white privilege and advantage. They're going to pay a price. In other words, white racism can now take on an autopilot effect. Even if elites do not, as they once did, actively manipulate working class emotions, that is not to say that such manipulation no longer occurs. Merely that is no longer a necessary condition to keep while working class folks in line. What has happened is because it has been ingrained in the minds of society. And it's been doing this for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. So they may not be doing it directly, but they still acting it out through what they think and the way they operate business and the way they do certain things. The racism still is there. And it may not be as blatant, but it's still there in certain things that they do, certain laws or certain policies they may put in place on the job place or wherever it may be. It could be if you go get a car in the credit, they may give you a higher credit rate. I mean, they'll give you a higher percentage in interest rate on your car, and the white man come and got the same background and get a lower interest rate. So it's still being done. It may not be doing as blatant, but it's still being done. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. It's not about that black lives are more important or no lives are important. The point of it is we just want basic human needs that we desire and our dignity. That's what it's all about, and not to kill our people in the streets like dogs. That's all it's about. It ain't about being better than you. It ain't about trying to outdo anybody. This basic human needs, and that's what we were talking about. I think this was a very, very powerful broadcast today. It's all about basic human rights. That's what hashtag Black Lives Matter. But don't try to twist it around, my white brothers, saying that all lives matter. No, it's not being perpetrated in your community. So don't even bring up all lives matter. In God's I say, yeah, but see, when it's not being done in yours, don't put up the sign, all lives matter. No, because it's not being done there. It's only being done here. All right? So that's why we say Black Lives Matter. Well, I hope that you got something out of this broadcast today, because this has been a powerful, powerful broadcast. I'm not here pointing no fingers, but I'm just giving you the truth. The scripture says you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Praise be to God. Well, we're going to come back next week with another Power Pack broadcast again here on the Trauma Network. We look forward to seeing you. I hope our brothers be back again with us. If not, we're going to continue to move forward. Like we always say, it doesn't matter what happens to you, but how you react to those things that matters. That's right. Finally, the secret is out. Even strong men struggle. Praise be to God. We love you, and we look forward to seeing you next time here on the Trauma Network for Men. God bless. We love you. Look forward to seeing you there.